What's up, Spellslingers? My name is Garion John Wells.
I'm Drew Flitton.
And I'm Cory Janabagi.
And this is Untap Upkeep Drink.
Beer up.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about M20, Core Set 2020.
Hype.
Our first real
Topical.
live-ish set review. Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, we missed the ball on Modern Horizons, but we might actually go through it and do that one if people are interested.
The more I think about it, though, there was a lot of shit there. Yeah, it would have taken a while.
The problem I have is just that there really is just so much to cover, and Modern is not our main format, so it'd be an interesting angle that we could take for it, but it's just not necessarily our jam.
Yeah, and I guess the core sets are a good way to jump in for anybody playing, so it's fitting that we just jump in right here.
But first, let's jump into the beers.
Oh,
Beautiful.
yeah. So I'm rocking the Grand Teton 208. It's an Idaho beer. It's a session ale, 100% Idaho ingredients. And this is brewed in Victor, Idaho, which is not too far away from where we grew up in Idaho Falls.
And literally a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Tetons.
Yeah, just right behind the Tetons on the Idaho side.
Aren't
Yeah,
the Tetons
actually-
featured on the can?
Oh, yeah.
So I've actually had this one before. Go figure. Idaho beer. Weird. And it's just a classic.
Yeah, you talk about session ales, and we've talked about it on another episode, but you guys probably won't see that one for a little bit. But the idea is that a session beer is something that you can drink in one session. It's not going to be super high alcohol content. It's just going to be like an easy drinking beer.
But there's nothing really special about this beer, but there's also nothing bad about it.
Yeah, it's very crushable. It's
so
got
good.
like a light hop taste right at the front of it, and then it kind of dissolves into a very just malty body and kind of finishes, I wouldn't necessarily say weak, but like it is an ale, so it does have a bit more of a hop characteristic to it.
Yeah.
But the malt body is very pleasant. It's enjoyable and absolutely sessionable. All right. So I'm drinking the Schöfferhofer. This is an import. It's a Hefeweizen grapefruit beer. It is a Hefeweizen that they've brewed, and then they've mixed 50-50 with grapefruit juice.
That's why it's so good.
Low ABV, I think somewhere between 2.5. I think that the actual label says that it's less than 3.2% by volume. So very light. Again, going to be an easy drinker. It reminds me of a shandy.
Yeah.
Which is basically what it is.
That is perfectly describes what it is. It's a little tart, but it's really crisp.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not like super sour like a normal grapefruit. So the juice definitely mellows out with the beer very nicely. Honestly, people would call it a bitch beer if they didn't understand.
I get that all the time.
My girlfriend who got these says hey, Cory, I got you some bitch beers.
But
they're good.
But if you're a
Easy
grapefruit
drinking.
fan, I think that has everything about a grapefruit that grapefruit fans like. It's got that cranberry bitterness kind of thing going on, which is actually pretty good with a beer.
Yeah.
it's nice.
If you like grapefruit, definitely try this one out. If you don't,
Honestly, if you like
it's just
citrusy
a
beers or
citrus
shandies
beer,
at all,
yeah.
then this is definitely something that you should check out. If you want something that's just a nice, easy summer drinking beer.
Yeah, and it looks
it's go-to.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's got a really nice color to it.
It's like a mango color.
And it's not clear, but it's also not hazy. Just kind
It's
of
definitely an unfiltered one.
yeah. All right, the beer I've got today is the Tahoe beer. Their slogan is famous as the lake, and it's just a classic blonde ale.
So I actually picked this one up when I was in Lake Tahoe a couple months ago. And I guess there was a brewery that used Lake Tahoe water in California, but it shut down in the 80s or something. And then these guys started it back up on the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, but they still use the Lake Tahoe water to brew it and everything.
Nice.
So they got the trademark for that beer. So it's the exact same beer. It's just brewed on the Nevada side now.
So this one's 5.5%. We don't have an IBU on it, but that's okay. Man, how do you feel about that? It's just kind of, I mean, it's kind of a classic blonde ale. It's very malty. There's not a whole lot of bitterness, but it's also not sweet. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty, what do you call it? Thirst quenching? It's crisp and
Crushable.
clear. Yeah, crushable.
I think all of these beers would definitely be in the crushable.
Yeah, these are
category.
definitely just some summer, just chilling beers. Like nothing too crazy.
Honestly, what I want
Some
on a
standard
Garion
flavors.
spear is either a lemon wedge
That's
or
exactly right.
a bit of orange,
Oh, yeah.
something in there. Just give me a little bit more.
Because it doesn't have any sweetness or tartness. It's just kind of a, I don't want to call it flat because that kind of has the wrong connotation, but it's just kind of a mellow.
That's what I
malt
was going to
beer.
use, is mellow.
I agree.
Not bad, but not exceptionally good straight out of the can. A little lemon wedge, yeah. You pet this boy up. So,
On to the main topic.
M20.
M2020.
We've got a lot
Mad
of cards
dog.
here. And obviously this podcast isn't just about Commander or Limited.
No, right.
We
just
kind
wanna
of
give-
cover everything a little bit, so we're going to break it down into sections, right?
Right. We just want to give our quick thoughts on the upcoming set, talk about the cards that we personally are most excited
Yeah.
for. But first, we kind of got to talk about the general hype, looking at the power level of the set. How does this match up to recent years, recent sets? For me, I'm comparing this to War of Spark, Guilds of Ravnica, that sort of thing. And more specifically, I'm comparing this to last year's core set.
I think last year's core set, because that was the year that they brought core sets back, right?
Yep.
So I think they kind of just took it easy on that set. Like it was fun.
It was definitely like the premium core set in that it was made for beginners. Like all of the
Yeah.
keywords had all
Yeah,
of their
they brought back
explanations.
some good fun mechanics.
Yeah, old mechanics that were brought back. But it was a very simplistic set. There wasn't
Yeah.
Is
like
that
a
the
lot of
idea
complications.
behind core sets?
Yeah, core
Is
sets is sort of like a jumping on point,
That makes sense.
which is why.
And also, it's good filler for standard.
Yeah, I think this one is better than last year, but War of the Spark, man, it was just too hype.
Yeah, I do think that it does have the higher power level compared to last year, but I think Corey's right that War of the Spark did come out. I mean, 37 Planeswalkers, including
Yeah.
the buy a box promo.
And just like the Ravnica block, just like bringing back shock lands and so much good stuff. There's definitely a lot of good, fun stuff in the set, but I don't think it matches up to the Ravnica block. And
Yeah.
that's okay. That's totally fine.
Definitely agree there, especially since the Ravnica block, well, for one, Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Legions were both able to focus on 2 color pairs a lot
Yeah.
stronger than what a core set is able to.
Yeah, that's very
And
fair.
we'll see that as we're going forward here. Just looking at the archetypes in the set, they're not as well hashed out, and some of them are kind of lacking.
Yeah, I don't think the Ravnica block would have been a good. Well, the first 2 sets in the Ravnica block would have been a good jumping on point because it is just 2 colors, just focus on those.
Yeah.
But I don't think War of the Spark would have been a good set because people
No.
jumping in
War of
not
the
knowing
Spark
what
was
planeswalkers
complicated
were.
as fuck.
Yeah. War of the Spark was for the fans.
Yeah,
I
and it
think
was
that's something
so
that
awesome.
was very much like integral to War of the Spark, was just making sure that those who would follow the Gatewatch saga for the past
Those were
3
invested.
years or whatever, people
Yeah.
exactly, the people who are invested in the story and just in the gameplay got to see kind of the way that it was finishing. It
Yeah.
also allows Wizards to open up and kind of start fresh here with Core 20.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an improvement over the last year's core. And I think knowing that that's kind of where they're going with sort of introductory sets, hopefully that means they're going in the right direction and kind of upping it just a little bit each year.
So comparing that to recent sets, all well and good, but let's get more into what the cards want to do, what the archetypes are. But as we're getting into that, this episode is going to be released right before pre-release. We want to make sure that we're encouraging everyone to go to pre-release. We have an episode on pre-release, kind of how to build a deck from a pre-release kit. It's going to be a little bit different in that it was from Ravnica. So it was going to be one of the guild kits. So it's going to be heavily influenced by that. And the ones that you're going to see are going to be a lot more open-ended. Again, it's the same idea. It's going to be a sealed kit. So build from your sealed pool. And if nothing else, just go check out our sealed episode. And that'll be really helpful. It'll just give you all of the basics of what you need to do for sealed. What's going to help you build a strong deck. What's going to help you build a consistent deck. And also we throw in some sideboard tips in there just to kind of help you as the games progress.
Yeah, and like all of us love going to pre-release. So if you've never been to a pre-release before, this is a good one to go. So just check that episode out and then just hop right in.
Absolutely. All right, so we're looking at the archetypes of this set. We have all of the color pairs that are more or less represented. We've got white-black life gain, blue-white flyers or blue-white skies. That one seems to be a very strong archetype in this, a lot of support for it. We've got white-green, which kind of has 2 different things. We've got this go-wide strategy and also like this really heavy emphasis on auras, primarily in white, but green has definite support for it.
We've also got the white-red weenie / go wide kind of strategy. White and green has some token stuff, but the white-red go wide strategy looks like it's going to be a decent way to pull white into the more aggressive instead of defensive side. And then we've got blue-black control / draw, which Sounds fun.
I mean,
just sounds good.
draw is going to be in the control. Drawing cards is part of the control strategy, but there seems to be a more heavy emphasis this time around on just drawing cards and getting the value off of it. So I wanted to throw that in there.
And then there's also a lot of black and green graveyard recursion.
That classic Golgari shit.
Yeah, I'm into that.
That's one of the ones that's not like heavily influencing this set, but you definitely see the synergies there.
There's also a cool black-red aggro deck with that sacrifice sub-theme.
Yeah, it's, again, very light. Like, they've got Active Treason, which allows you to take one of your opponent's creatures. And with the cards that allow you to sacrifice creatures, you just have that synergy of just making sure that your Active Treason acts as removal as well.
And then there's also My Jam, which is just elementals.
Yeah, we've got Teamer Elementals, and that's broken down into 3 different groups.
Yeah, there's blue-green, blue-red, with a little bit of spell slinging on the side. And then there's just red-green,
Straight up.
just aggro gruel elementals, all of which I can get down with.
So, talking about pre-release, hyping it up a little bit here. Corey, what are you looking forward to?
So all of us came up with a list of cards that we're looking forward to in a bunch of different categories. And right now, these are ones that we want to play. We're looking forward to playing at pre-release specifically. So I didn't really put these in any order. I just put some good cards that I thought would be a lot of fun. So one of my cards is Knight of Ebon Legion, and it's just a 1-drop, 1/2. I'm down to run that anyways.
Play him all the time.
But then it's a 1/2 Vampire Knight for a black. It's got 2 and a black. Knight of Ebon Legion gets +3/+3 and gains Death Touch until end of turn.
So it becomes a 4/5?
4/5 Death Touch. Hell yeah. And then it also has a thing. At the beginning of your end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Knight of Ebon Legion.
Yeah, so you swing with Knight of Ebon Legion, and it gets the counter on it because it's going to be really difficult for your opponent to say, I'm going to block this because you have that onboard pump effect.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that pump effect is actually restricted to once per turn, so you could dish that out.
Oh, yeah. It's just a mana sink late game, too.
Which, absolutely valuable.
Yeah, and that's, I think, why I put this card on here, because it's a 1-drop, so it's going to come down and then just sit there for a while. If you get some incidental burn or damage in, if it's at least 4, you can start getting counters. And then once you get 3 mana, you can start pumping him really, really big. And nobody wants to swing into a 4/5 Death Touch.
And this will always trade if you're looking for it. And it's just something that your opponents have to watch out for.
Yeah, it's just really good early game, middle game, and late game.
This card is also on my list.
I think this one is going to take people by surprise. So another card that I put is Shifting Ceratops. And I like dinosaurs, but this one especially.
Yeah, this one's tight.
I like big green cards. And it's a 5/4 dinosaur for 2 green. This spell can't be countered. Awesome. Protection from blue. Even better. There's some blue hate. And this is one of the better blue hate cards. And then the best thing about it is you pay a green. Shifting Ceratops gains your choice of reach, trample, or haste until end of turn.
So for 5 mana, you can swing with this on turn 5, assuming.
Yeah. It's a 5/4 for 4, but it's a 5/4 with haste for 5.
And it's only 1 mana to gain those keywords, so potentially you could do all 3.
Yeah. It's very good on defense.
Yeah, it's just a very versatile card.
Yeah, a lot going for it.
And it's super anti-blue. Because of the reach, you can just smack all those blue flyers out.
Yeah, this one's on my list as well.
And then another card I put was God's Willing. So I used to have a One Punch Man deck, and this is card in there. But to me, it's just flavor because they brought back protection from a color in this set. And it's just a mono white for an instant. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. And then scry 1. So it's just a really good combat trick. And I just love protection.
It's one of those things that tends to come out of nowhere the first time.
Yeah, you're not expecting protection. Like you expect a pump, but protection now. So another card I put is Sky Knight Vanguard. So we talked about this card a little bit at the top of the show when we mentioned Boros sort of aggro white weenie deck archetypes. And then it's just red and white for a 1/2 human knight with flying. And whenever it attacks, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token that's tapped and attacking. So it's basically 2 power for 2 flying, but you can repeat it every turn and just keep making tokens.
Yep. And it's over 2 bodies, which is nice.
Yeah, spreads it out. And you're usually going to get the flyer through, and blocking a token every turn can just wear him down after a while.
And if you're in red, then blocking a token is dangerous because then your burn spells just hit that much harder.
Yeah. And then it's probably my number one card.
I
put it in the number one
I
set.
saw this girl.
Or in the number one spot, but she's just amazing. This is Chandra, Awakened Inferno.
This one's the mythic.
This one's the mythic
3.
one. It's 4 red for a 6 loyalty planeswalker Chandra. This spell can't be countered. God damn. +2, each opponent gets an emblem with at the beginning of your upkeep, this emblem deals 1 damage to you. -3, Chandra, Awakened Inferno deals 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. Mini board wipe. And then -X, it deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. So I think we're going to be talking about this card all throughout the episode because she's just
really good.
She's really good all around.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the best cards in the set.
The fact that her emblem is a plus and not an ultimate is a really big deal. You can stack those bitches several times.
I think it'd be difficult to have it as an ultimate, but I'm surprised it's not a minus ability. That's for sure.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I put this one in this list specifically for pre-release. If I got one and ran it, I just would want to see how many emblems I could stack. Just plussing it over and over and over.
The thing is that she's insane as a finisher. So whether you're, blue-red control or something along those lines, like you get her out, she can't be countered. And if she's out for 2 turns and she gets those +1s, then your opponent has an insane clock on them plus whatever else you have.
Yeah, because just having that mini board wipe too, even if you're not running elementals, just doing damage to everything. Okay, Drew, what cards did you put?
So the first one I have on the list is Unholy Indenture. It's 2 and a black for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control with a +1/+1 counter on it. So the reason why I have this one on my list is because there's been a few of these in the past year or so, back to, I think, Dominaria, whether it's an instant speed effect or an enchantment itself. And I've been undervaluing them for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't until War of the Spark that I actually saw the value of these spells and the fact that you get your creature back with a +1/+1 counter. I mean, if you have any bomb, you should run this card just because you get your bomb a second time. And if it has an ETB effect or whatever, it gets that much better.
Yeah,
and
I think
anytime you can protect your creature for 3 mana like that, it's going to be value.
I think one of the best parts about this is that you can use on other people's creatures too. Because it's just enchant creature when it dies, return it to the battlefield under your control.
So the next one on my list is Knight of the Ebon Legion. This is one that Cory had on his. I'm excited just to play this card in general. I'm excited specifically to see how it does in the EDH scene.
Yeah.
A 1-drop that's in Markov or something like that just gets that much value. And the fact that you get those +1/+1 counters, this thing becomes a real threat even in EDH very quickly.
Oh yeah, it's a lot easier to shoot people for more damage in EDH.
The next one on my list, we've got Audacious Thief. So I love effects like this, and this one just gets me really excited. So it's 2 and a black for creature, human rogue. It's a 2/2, and whenever Audacious Thief attacks, you draw a card and you lose 1 life.
Oh yeah.
So in Sealed, this card, I think honestly, is a bomb. This card is insane value. You're going to want to attack anyways, so that's part of your game plan regardless. And the fact that you're just going to continue to get value off of drawing cards, your opponent needs to block this.
Yeah.
And if you can trade up with it, great. If you just trade in general, you're still getting a card and losing a life.
Yeah, this definitely goes into the Rakdos aggro deck. Just swing as many times. It goes into
every black deck.
Yeah, that's true.
Like every
it's
deck.
a Phyrexian arena on a creature.
Yeah, I always play those cards that if they enter the battlefield, you draw a card, lose a life. And so if you can do this multiple times.
Yeah, you do this twice, and you've just divination and also dealt 4 damage.
Getting 1 card off this is good. Getting multiple cards out of it, so good.
So that's a card I'm really looking forward to. Next one we have is Drakuseth, Maw of Flames. 4 red, so 7 mana for legendary creature dragon. He's a 7/7.
Hell yeah.
Has flying, as most dragons do, and whenever Drakuseth, Maw of Flames attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets.
I put this on my top 5 3 different times. I was like, I don't know, he's tight, but no, he's tight. I should have left him on
just
there.
Excited for this card. There's a lot of red and black that I'm excited for, but I don't really like running those colors at pre-release. Lots of removal, and this kind of exemplifies that. It's basically going to be a mini board wipe because generally you don't have more than about 3 creatures out at any given time. Most of them probably aren't going to have more than 4 toughness. So even if you just throw it to your opponent's face, that's 11 damage to their face in 1 attack.
Yeah.
That's a lot that they have to deal with.
And it's up to 2 other targets, so it can shoot planeswalkers as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good to spread damage around. It's just a very good card. Like when you think about it, it's 17 damage, I think, on 1 attack.
Yeah. Insane.
That's ridiculous. The last one on my list is one of the cards I'm just most excited about in general. Garion kind of talked about the fork effects. This is Repeated Reverberation, 2 red. for an instant. When you next cast an instant spell, cast a sorcery spell, or activate a loyalty ability this turn, copy that spell or ability twice. You may choose new targets for the copy.
This thing
Double for.
is fucking brutal.
I think this is another card that's just going to pop up all throughout this episode because it's so good.
This one is insanely strong. Yes, that you have a huge mana investment into it, but sealed is generally a slower format. So if you can copy a spell, then you're just getting insane value. If you can copy it twice, oh man.
Yeah, I think that is a really good idea. But the fact that it copies loyalty abilities, which don't cost any mana.
See, that's what I saw.
You could like potentially do this and do something else.
My only caveat on that is that, I mean, yeah, you talk about the Chandra, but how often are you going to see Chandras?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to see other spells a lot more often. And if you fork a draw spell or something like that, then
get your hand back.
Yeah, you get your entire hand back, and it doesn't matter if you draw a couple lands out of that, you're totally fine with it.
Oh yeah, this card, there's not really a downside. It's well mana priced.
All right, so next we've got Garion's list.
So my actual 5th pick is Flame Sweep. It's 2 and a red for an instant. It says Flame Sweep deals 2 damage to each creature except for creatures you control with flying. So I figured, the big like blue-red Wizards deck could do this if you got a couple flyers on the board. But really, it's just in sealed. It has the potential to be a board.
Yeah, it just basically shocks everything.
Yeah.
Shock also in the set.
Yeah.
I like it. It's not probably something I'm going to dig for if I pick it out and like try and build around it. But I think it could be a good piece of the puzzle when you're building.
Honestly, I think this card is totally splashable as well.
Oh, yeah.
The 1 red pip. If you're blue-white skies, throw in, a couple mountains in there to get this, and it's basically going to be a board wipe, and you're just going to finish them.
My number 4 is, again, Shifting Ceratops. 2 green for a 5/4 creature dinosaur. Can't be countered. We already talked about protection from blue. Just a good value card. Really cool finisher, but also just like there's enough there that you can kind of work around her. My number 3 is Luxodon Life Changer. He's 5 and a white, so he's expensive for a 4/6 creature elephant cleric. It says when Luxodon Life Changer enters the battlefield, you may have your life total become the total toughness of creatures you control.
Weird.
It's weird. And then for another 5 and a white, Luxodon Life Changer gets +X until end of turn, where X is your life total. So again, this could be another one of those trap cards where you think it's going to do more than it really ends up doing. But I think in the right deck, this could be a really cool way to shift the math on your opponent and create a weird disparity that they have to try and combat.
This is a late game card. You see it in the mana cost. You see it in the body. And it is a May trigger. So
right.
And at bare minimum, your life becomes 6. If you're at 1, that's a 5 increase. Like it's fine.
If you can give him evasion, excellent. If you can give him lifelink, awesome.
Even better.
Just doubling your life, or more than doubling your life.
My number 2 is Corpse Knight. He is white and a black for a 2/2 creature zombie knight. So he's a 2/2 for 2. But whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life.
Yeah, this one's a bit confusing to me just because it's in black-white, which is kind of the life gain deck in this. And it seems to be you can go wide instead. So I think they're trying to just give multiple strategies, but I don't know, it's just not what you expect.
It seems like it'd be on a vampire card to me.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of Orzhov tokens in this set, but I think splashing this card into that Boros White Weenie deck would help a lot.
Or even into the green-white go wide.
Yeah, just one of the token decks. I think this is splashable in that, where you're just making lots of creatures.
Pinging every time. My last one, I don't know if it's necessarily like the best sealed card, but I think it would be really cool to play something like this, especially in a sideboard where you're playing against some of these big like green, token pump decks. It's Blight Beetle. He's 1 and a black for a 1/1. Creature insect, protection from green. Creatures your opponents control can't have +1/+1 counters on them.
Yeah, so this is definitely a silver bullet card.
Yeah.
It's strong when it's good, and it's a 1/1 for 2 when it's not.
Yep.
This is kind of like the definition of a sideboard card. All right, so we've covered pre-release. We don't just pre-release around here. We don't just do sealed. We also like to draft, especially myself. Corey, if you're going to draft this set, what are you looking forward to? What do you want?
Elementals. So I want to try and get Omnath, Locust of the Royal, and just get all the good low to the ground elementals and just spread it out and just start pumping them, drawing some cards if I get that far late in the game. And then another one I want to try is just Flying Tribal. Drew mentioned Blue-White Skies. There's a great card called Warden of Evos Isle. It's 2 and a blue for a 2/2 bird wizard flying. Creature spells with flying you cast cost 1 less to cast. So it just makes everything in your deck cost less and just makes it go so much faster. And there's a lot of big, awesome flyers in this set. And then another thing I would want to try in any set is Elvish Reclaimer, which is a 1-drop for green. 1/2 Elf Warrior. Elvish Reclaimer gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyard. So it's a 3/4 for 1. You can pay 2 and tap it, sack a land, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So that card's awesome on its own. But the one card I want to try it with is the card that has everybody all hot and bothered, which is Lotus Field. It's a hexproof land, enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice 2 lands, then add 3 mana of any one color.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to get into it, but this is kind of a hard card to build around because it doesn't really get you any advantage because you're sacking lands and it comes in tapped. But with a card like Elvish Reclaimer, which cares about lands in the graveyard, it synergizes really well. And obviously a 3/4 for 1 mana isn't going to win you the game unless you can do it a bunch or have some other stuff. But I would just want to pull that off because I think those 2 cards work well together. And then another thing I would want to try is using an artifact deck. And there aren't a lot of artifact creatures in the set, but using the 2 cards Steel Overseer and Manifold Key to do some untap shenanigans would be so dope. So Steel Overseer is a 2 generic mana for a 1/1 artifact creature construct. You can tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. So it includes itself. And then Manifold Key is a 1-drop artifact. It says pay 1, tap it, untap another target artifact. So you untap your Overseer. And it has 3 and tap it. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So just doing that every turn, putting 2 counters on everything will just get out of hand so fast.
Then you make one of them unblockable and you kill them.
And you just go. And the one thing I want to do, and it's super memey, but it's just get Colossus Hammer onto a creature.
I almost put this on my list, but I was trying to figure out what deck can use it.
I don't even know.
And the more I look, the less I think it's possible, just because there's not any ramp besides, I think, New
I was
Horizons.
gonna say, there's not even any good dorks, really.
No,
Mana
there's
dorks.
like, you have to get like 8 hard mana.
Yeah. So Colossus Hammer is a 1-drop.
But that win is going to be...
So Colossus Hammer is a 1-drop artifact. It's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying.
And it's got an equip cost of 8 hard mana. Obviously, in other formats where you can just cheat this onto a creature, incredible.
See, that's what I was thinking. I was digging through all of them. Like, where's the free equip? It's not in this set, unfortunately.
But in just this set, I don't know. It would be awesome. And obviously, your dude would need some evasion. It might work really well in the artifact deck with Manifold Key, just giving something unblockable. But I think it would just be hard to pull off. But so awesome.
Yeah, it's just, you're spending so much mana just to equip, and they can kill it in response. And like, there's a lot of risk going into it.
It's not good.
You can't put it on your flyer to get that free damage in.
Yeah. And then I've got an honorable mention of a really, really messed up thing, but it's Tectonic Rift. It's 3 and a red, destroy target land. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. But I want to do that with repeated reverberation and fork it twice.
Just murder everybody's
Blow up
lands.
3 lands for 8 mana.
I mean, you do that and your opponent's probably not coming back.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Drew, what do you got?
So first one I have is, it's kind of just like a me strategy, which is just go wide, specifically focusing on tokens. So the feature of the deck is your signpost card, Ironroot Warlord. So this is a 3-drop. It's 1 green white for a star 5. It is a creature, Treefolk Soldier, and it has Ironroot Warlord's power is equal to the number of creatures you control. So already showing you that this is a go wide. It's this flag post of green-white telling you this is exactly what needs to happen in this deck. And it also has the activated ability, 3 green-white, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. So there's a lot of support for this archetype in the format. The 2 that are kind of like most notable to me are Might of the Masses, which pumps 1 creature equal to the amount of creatures you control, and then Overcome, which is the budget overrun.
Yeah.
Creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample.
Yeah, I think Might of the Masses is just a sneaky combat trick because it's an instant speed. So you just swing at everything. Whatever gets through, pump it.
Yeah,
kill.
and it's 1 mana for that too. So you just
good.
have all of your creatures out there. You know, you can just do an Alpha Strike and just swing with everything.
Yeah, you don't even care. You just got to get something through.
Yeah. All right, so the second one I have is just the Cavalier Cycle. So every color has a Cavalier of blank. And these are mythic rare, so you're not going to see them very often.
Yeah.
The one that I want to talk about specifically is the Cavalier of Gales. I don't know if it's necessarily the strongest one, but I think that it's up there. It's very strong. It's 2 blue, blue, blue for a 5/5 creature, Elemental Knight. It has flying, and when Cavalier of Gales enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. When Cavalier of Gales dies, shuffle it into its owner's library, then scry 2. So this one is the most resistant of them. If it dies, it goes back into your library, kind of helps you stop milling yourself if you've got some way to recur it. And then it also just, when it comes down, it's a 5/5 flyer that brainstorms.
Yeah, all of the Cavaliers they're not like crazy powerful, but they're all really good. But they're all 2 generic mana and then 3 of their color.
So it's a heavy mana investment, but for 5 mana, getting a 5/5 flyer, you'll take that rate anyways.
Oh, yeah.
And to get a brainstorm on top of it, that helps you, filter your top draws. And then the die trigger is just really, really good.
Yeah, they all have an ETB and then a death trigger. And I think I agree this one is the most useful. And flying 5 and 5/5 for 5, hell yeah, you play that.
Thing's going to bash a lot. So the next kind of strategy I want to look at is auras, which again, it's a very me thing. Just playing with enchantments. Specifically, I want to mess with Gargos Vicious Watcher because I just think this would be the most fun one to have for the aura deck. So Gargos Vicious Watcher is a 8/7 legendary creature Hydra, costs 3 green, 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 has vigilance, and Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast. I don't care about that.
Yeah, that doesn't really matter.
Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, Gargos Vicious Watcher fights up to 1 target creature you don't control.
That's the one.
That's the good stuff.
So the reason why I like this in the Auras deck is because you are targeting, which means that you get to have Gargos fight stuff over and over again. So if you're able to get him out, 1 or 2 auras that you cast on your stuff, basically is going to win you the game because you're just going to dump your entire hand and also kill their board.
Yeah, just an 8/7 vigilance for 6. Awesome. Repeated removal, way better.
Yeah, and if your opponent tries to kill it, you get to kill one of their things first.
Yeah, and then you can just using combat tricks, not even auras, just anything. Just you got to target it and it just removes something. Because it's probably going to kill whatever you want.
Yeah, 8 power is a lot. And 7 toughness, it's probably not going to die when the thing hits it back. So one of my favorite archetypes in draft is Blue-White Skies. It's just efficient and I don't want to say lazy, but it doesn't make me think very much. It's just like I know exactly what I'm doing.
It's always going to be good.
And so Empyrion Eagle is a signpost card for it. It's 1 white blue for a creature bird spirit. It's a 2/3 and it has flying. And other creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. So it's an anthem for your flyers. Clearly, again, the signpost for this deck telling you exactly what you need to do, and I'm all for it. So the last one on my list is one that I specifically want in draft, not in sealed necessarily, because you probably need to kind of draft around a little bit. It's Embodiment of Agonies. It's 1 black for a 0/0 creature demon. Has flying and death touch, and Embodiment of Agonies enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each different mana cost among non-land cards in your graveyard. And they have reminder text here. For example, 2 and a black and 1 black are different mana costs.
See, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just if you have a
Just
1
1,
and 2
2,
or 3
3.
and 4, then it's just like, okay, it's pretty good. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh,
Wait a minute
you're going to
now.
be way bigger than I thought.
Yeah. So anytime this guy comes down, even if you get him on turn 3, if for whatever reason you've had stuff go to the bin, it's going to be valuable. Your sorceries count for this instance, etc. Like, it's not just permanence, which is often what you see on a card like this. So this card is fantastic.
Yeah, especially since he has flying, he's just going to be a big boy and just get through.
Yeah, you see the 3 mana, and you're like, probably not going to be that big. You see that he's a demon, and you realize there's probably some extra shenanigans going on here. And I think, like, realistically, you can get this guy 7 or 8, and it wouldn't be too hard.
Easy.
So I have one honorable mention that I really want to talk about, which is Mammoth Spider. You saw it in Dominaria. It's a 3/5 spider with reach. It's just going to hold back basically everything.
All-star.
Yeah, it's so good. I think it honestly was underrated for a long time in Dominaria, but people started to realize that if you can attack through, then your opponent is probably going to win.
Yep.
It just blocks everything. God damn it. All right. Moving on to my list, my 5th choice was the Corpse Knight. And I just figured he would be kind of cool with a low to the ground, kind of like cheap mana cost creatures strategy. I don't know if you're probably going to have enough life gain to make it like a drain type of deck, but I just think it'd be cool. You're playing creatures anyway. He's a 2/2 for 2. And Orzhov is just fun as hell to play.
Yeah, so this guy was also on your sealed list, so you just want to play this guy, period.
I just like him. Yeah, I feel like
He is
he's
sweet.
cheaply costed and he has a decent effect.
The next one you have on here is kind of a, what do you call it? Magical Christmas Land, I believe.
Oh,
is
yeah,
the-
this is the wish mode.
Yeah.
Well,
Year of
yeah. I mean,
Dreams.
you asked me what do I wish I could draft. The next one would be the Chandra deck.
You'll never get this.
So this would probably, in ideal Christmas land, be a mono red, just fucking go type of deck. Getting two or three of those Chandras would be ideal. But honestly, just playing around one of them, if you pull them in a pack, I think could still be fun. And it could still be kind of brutal if you pull it off right. I'm not super good at mono reds, so I think the person to draft that deck would be Cory, because he'd know what he's looking for.
I mean, mono red is a fun draft strategy.
Swing and burn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like mono red burn is, think of your creatures as burn spells.
Yep. It goes really well with my number 3 card, which is Repeated Reverberation. Well, like you were saying, I don't draft nearly as much as you do, so I don't know that I should just plop this out, pack one, pick one.
I would pack one, pick one so
But
fast.
it's so good.
I agree. I think this is, like we were talking about, this card, no matter when you play it,
Yeah,
it's going to
true.
do some
And it
work.
doesn't matter if you're splashing it or if you're mono red or
Yeah.
if you're...
You're probably not splashing for this card. Double red pips on a 4 drop is kind of hard, especially when you have to consider that you're probably going to spend minimum of 6 mana on the turn you use this.
Yeah, because you're probably going to cast something else, true.
Yeah.
But I still think it would be really cool in a black-red, blue-red burn deck. The Wizards deck in this set isn't as strong as past sets, but I still think there's like a
3 Wizards.
really good Is-It deck there. My number 2 pick is Dread Presence. He's 3 and a black for a 3/3 creature nightmare. And it says, whenever a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. You draw a card and you lose a life, or Dread Presence deals 2 damage to any target and you gain 2 life.
So we already talked about the just value that you get out of drawing a card and losing a life.
So he
that
could
one
be a
life is nominal.
Phyrexian Arena for every swamp you get. Or if you're really racing, this separates you and your opponent by 4 life every time you play a land, every time you play a swamp. Both of those modes, I think, are really cool to work around.
Well, I think another point to look at is that it's 2 damage to any target.
Right.
So
It
not
can
just
be
your
removable.
opponent. Yeah, you can just start removing little things.
Yeah, when your land starts to become removable, it's very strong.
Or just second main phase, land drop, shoot something that's
already take damage.
Yeah. Nobody's
It seems like
expecting
it's
that.
another one of those things that you're going to be playing lands anyway. So
Yeah, you're just getting value.
if you're heavy black, plop it in there, man.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't play this in like a light black. I don't think you can splash it reasonably.
No,
4
I
mana,
don't
3/3.
think
It's
so.
just, it's okay. But if you can get consistent value off of it, even if you get 2 or 3 triggers, I think that you're more than happy with
Yeah,
it.
if you get a removal spell and you draw a card of it, way good.
Yep. My last one, keeping to my Golgari roots, is Moldervine Reclamation. It's a 5 mana enchantment, so it's 3 black green, and it says whenever a creature you control dies, you gain a life and draw a card. I think this would be really cool in a Golgari token deck. Obviously, something real
Slimefoot.
Slimefoot
yeah.
would be tight
Saprolings.
if he was
Gross.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Saprolings is not a thing in this set, but
Thank God.
yeah, bummer. But I still think it's just such a good value card that if you're in those colors, you want it. And if you find this late in a pack, which I don't know how often you're going to do that.
I think this will go pretty late.
You
I don't
think
think
so?
a lot of people are going to prioritize this.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to build around this card.
True. So if you find this late in a pack and you know you're there already, I think it's just such good value that it creates a tempo disparity with some of those faster decks that you can help keep up with them.
With Moldervine Reclamation, I think that it's playable in a lot of different formats. I don't think it's like, Modern Legacy Vintage type playable, but I think that in Commander, it's going to be good. I think, Brawl or Oathbreaker or whatever random format you're chugging
just
along with.
Getting value
Yeah.
and recurring tokens, I think, is a really strong effect.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the ones that I chose are, cards you've got to kind of build around, which is why I kind of moved them to the draft spot instead of just sealed, because I figured you have a little more opportunity to make those choices.
Absolutely. All right. So we've gone through the limited side of things. We'll get into the constructed side in a bit. But first, let's get back to these beers.
So I'm still sipping on this Tahoe beer blonde ale. To be honest, the more I sip on it, it's very average. Not sweet, not tart, not citrusy, just kind of, like we said, mellow, malty. I do like that there's almost no hops, so it's not a real challenge to tackle the bitter.
Keep going.
Yeah, basically 0 IBUs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just beer flavored water, but much better than Coors. You know what I mean?
That nice Tahoe water, at least.
Yeah, Tahoe.
Hopefully they're not dumping it in that water, literally or otherwise.
So I had the 208. Shout out to Grand Teton Brewery, Idaho, represent. But kind of like what Garion was saying about his beer, this one, it's very generic, but in a good way. I would drink this anytime.
I feel like this podcast has kind of spoiled us. We have all these very cool, flavorful,
Yeah, we try and
craft
get
beers.
the weird stuff that we haven't
Yeah.
had before and just mix things up. But for this episode, we just got some cool, easy drinking beers.
Yeah,
And this is definitely one of them.
yeah, and
It's officially summertime, so we're drinking.
yeah, and I've got the Schöfferhofer here, which it's a nice import, but honestly, I think they put way too much fruit juice in this. It's kind of sitting heavy, which I wouldn't expect out of this. I mean, it is easy to drink, but the more I have of it, the less I want of it, I feel. It's not like the lemon or orange kind of flavors that I would normally enjoy. The grapefruit flavor is not grapefruit-y as much as I'd like either. I don't know, it just kind of misses the mark on a lot of things.
I think
It's
the
still, like,
bitter
a
is
nice-
played up and the tart is a little underdeveloped. You know what I mean?
See, I think, I don't know if this is good lounging around doing nothing beer, but if you're outside, just like barbecuing or hanging out by a pool or something, I think this is a perfect beer because it's so crisp.
All right, let's get into constructed side of things.
Hell
so
yeah.
for us, our main constructed format is EDH. So we're going to emphasize that here. So what are some cards we're looking forward to? Right.
So
First
we
off,
each
we're going to talk
kinda-
about commanders, right?
Right. We each kind of selected one legendary creature that we thought sparked some interest and had a few ideas on how we'd build it. Mine was Rianne, Angel of Rebirth, and
She's the buy a box promo.
she is. I'm kind of hoping to do like a Naya Weenies deck with this girl here. First of all, these are dinosaur colors, which is kind of tight. If you wanted to, you can splash your top end for some big monster dinosaurs. That's not how I would do it.
Yeah, my problem with her is that she looks like she's supposed to be like the pilgrim for the Naya Angels deck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's super disappointing because I've wanted to build that deck for a little while.
Well, she reads 2 red, green, white, so 2 and Naya for 5/4 legendary creature angel with flying. And it says other multicolored creatures you control get +1/+0, which is kind of weird.
It is.
And then whenever another multicolored creature you control dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. That's what I like a lot. Gaddock Teague goes in this deck. Knight of New Alara goes in this deck. Voice of Resurgence, Knight of Autumn goes in this deck. There's a lot of these like Selesnya little guys that have just super good value. There's some like control synergies in there. And when people inevitably remove this shit, it comes right back.
Yeah, I think that last ability is the one you want to really
Yeah.
dig into in the deck. It's sort of like Feather, where, because it's each end step.
Right.
Or the next end step. So if something dies on everybody's turn, if you flash it out or something, do some shenanigans, you can get it back every turn.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of what you have to abuse.
Yeah, you have to focus on multicolored creatures, obviously. So
Yeah.
you're not looking for any of the like standard one color guys. But I've got stuff like Quasali Pride Mage in here. He's green and a white for a 2/2. He has Exalted, so whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. But also you can pay 1 generic and sacrifice him to destroy target artifact or an enchantment. Sacking him, you bring him back at the next end step. You got really cheap, like good, valuable cards that you can get out each turn. You're not investing a ton in it, but they have this recurable sort of synergy.
Yeah. I think just Naya, ETBs, and death triggers is kind of the best
Yeah,
way to
that's
build it. So you don't really
how I
care
go
about the
for sure.
pump. And like Drew was saying, it's not really angel deck. Because a lot of angels are mono-colored.
Yeah.
Well, this one only cares about multicolored creatures.
Yeah. Well, and when I started looking into the Naya colors, there are a lot of like Naya dinosaurs, but I don't know that that's what this deck wants to do. You don't want to spend 6, 8, 10 mana on something, put it back in your hand, and then spend it again.
Most
Yeah.
of
I
the
mean,
dinosaurs
maybe
aren't
as a-
that expensive, but
Some of them
the
are-
really
yeah,
good ones.
Ones where
Obviously.
you're playing, like, if
I-
you
I
play
was thinking some of
Zakama
the-
every turn, goddamn.
It's true.
Honestly, cycling Zakama would be insane because he untaps your lands.
That's true. I think some of the raptors would be cool. The ones that let you search for like lands and stuff like that. A rapacious raptor. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
was one of
When
them.
they get dealt damage or whatever. So you just have them die.
But what I really like is like I said before, some of this removal. So Elvish Hex Hunter is another one. He's a split Selesnya mana, so 1 mana for a 1/1, and then you can do a split Selesnya, tap him, sacrifice him to destroy an artifact or enchantment.
A lot of good utility creatures.
Yeah.
And then I just thought it would be really tight to have like some of your big finishers be like Xenagos, God of Revels.
Xenagos is very good.
He goes in this deck. He's a 6/5 indestructible god. Obviously, all of those gods have this clause. As long as your devotion to red and green is less than 7, Xenagos isn't a creature. But he says at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and +X/+X until end of turn, where X is that creature's power. So you're doubling your dudes.
I think most importantly, he's a haste enabler for the creatures that you bring back.
Yeah.
But then the real nasty guy.
This is a messed up card. How have I never seen this guy?
Is this not tight, though? His name is Realm Razor. He's 3 and Naya. So 6 mana for a 4/2 creature beast. And it says when Realm Razor comes into play, remove all lands from the game. When Realm Razor leaves play, return the removed cards to play tapped under their owner's control. So obviously this is a brutal card, but like this fits in with that kind of like control your board kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds less like you want to build a white weenies and more like you want to build Naya Hate Bears.
Yeah. Especially with this card. You just,
I said weenies because I chose a lot of like cheap multicolored utility stuff, but you're right. It's
a Naya Hate Bear.
But you're right. You saw it. You found me out.
Yeah, as soon as you put
trying to
Gaddock Teague in
disguise
there,
it, okay.
Sneak hate bears through. We will pick up on that
you can't
shit.
put Gaddock Teague in a deck and
Yeah.
not call it a Hate Bears deck because that's the only thing it wants to do.
Oh, yes.
All right, Corey.
So I've talked about it a lot this episode. And
literally, as soon as it was spoiled, my text chat for
our group
the
chat was like
UUD
8.
chat was like, oh god.
So my card or my commander that I would choose is Omnath, Locus of the Royal. And I've already got an Omnath, Locus of Rage deck. And I think it would just be a super easy upgrade to just make this the commander. And I don't think that this Omnath is better than Omnath of Rage. I think Omnath, Locus of Rage is still the best one. Just because you abuse those ETBs so much.
Have you read the text on this one yet? Or have we just said its name a bunch of
No,
times?
we haven't.
Oh, my bad, guys. So Omnath, Locus of the Royal is 1 green, blue, red. So it's 1 and Timur for a 3/3 legendary creature elemental. When Omnath, Locus of the Royal enters the battlefield, it deals damage to any target equal to the number of elementals you control. So that's sort of a go wide clause. And then whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target elemental you control. If you control 8 or more lands, draw a card. So that's more of the landfall that we know.
So yeah, I think like you said, he's a little bit weaker overall.
He's less focused.
But
I think
adding
he's
blue
still fun.
is
I think that
pretty
is the
fucking
key.
good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good blue elementals.
That is sort of what I emphasized when I was thinking of this deck.
Well, and the filtering and the card draw that you can get to be able to get back to the other arm.
Yeah, relying on blue card draw over green or even red card draw is way better.
Good.
And there's, like Drew was saying, there's a lot of good blue elementals. Maelstrom Wanderer is one. Mole Drifter is another one. Royal Elemental. Just some
Royal Elemental,
bangers.
I think is the one that I was thinking of.
And then just there's some other good landfall cards in Simic that you just couldn't use before, like Tatiova, Benthic Druid. And then one of the new cards that I would really want to try out with the deck is Risen Reef. So it's 1 green-blue for 1/1 elemental. Whenever Risen Reef or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, put it into your hand.
So this is a Coiling Oracle effect, which
and
we've seen is very strong.
Very strong. But I think this just works so well with Omnath, Locus of Rage because you play an elemental, you reveal the top card. If it's a land, you put it on the battlefield, making another elemental, triggering this again. So as long as you have lands, you'll just keep going, making 5/5s.
Yeah, that's a wombo super hard.
Seriously. And then if you have haste or sack outlets, you just start going. And I think
it's exactly the kind of shit you would do with that deck too.
Yeah, that's what I'm into. I think that was the most exciting part because I think Risen Reef got spoiled before Omnath, and so it was like, ooh, that's a cool card. And then I was like, ooh, throw them all together. But I think one of the most important things about this deck is just having just another landfall deck with access to blue. And obviously, throwing Cyclonic Rift in there would just make any deck a lot better.
Certainly won't hurt you.
Yeah. So we'll see. Okay, Drew, what do you got? I know you're really excited for this guy.
Yeah. So as soon as this guy got spoiled, like I sent our group chat like I think half of a deck basically for how I wanted to build it. And I was like,
what about this card?
but wait,
Yeah.
I can do a
It's
different
like,
build.
I can do
And
this,
so
and this,
on our
and this.
outline here, I have 5 different builds. Like you got Jeskai spells, you've got aristocrats, enchantments, which I think I'd just do like a pillow for if I was gonna do that. You've got Storm, which is super easy. Just general tokens.
Yeah, I think the commanders that Gary and I chose are very linear, while this guy is
Yeah,
way open-ended.
You can do anything with him. But the one I want to focus on is Jeskai spells. So the commander I'm most excited about is Kaikar Wind's Fury. 1 blue, red, white, so 1 in Jeskai for a 3/3 legendary creature bird wizard. It's got flying, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. And he's got an additional line of text, the more important one, which is sacrifice a spirit, add red.
So the most abusable part of him.
So you could do a, I don't know, general spirits deck and just like kind of get bonus value off of him. But I'm more focused on the non-creature spells. It includes enchantments, which is why I was talking about doing like a Pillow Fort enchantment style deck. Artifacts, which you could do like a Jorah Storm deck with white in it finally. But I want to talk about Jeskai spells. And one of the premier cards to me is one of the new ones from Modern Horizon, Aria of Flame. It's 2 and a red for an enchantment. When Aria of Flame enters the battlefield, each opponent gains 10 life. Seems bad, but whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a verse counter on Aria of Flame, then it deals damage equal to the number of verse counters on it to target player or planeswalker. So in a spells deck, this is going to get insane very quickly, especially in Commander.
Yeah, in any other deck, I think it's just way too hard. But in this deck specifically, I think you just get so much value.
So when we're talking about instant sorceries, we can't not talk about Young Pyromancer, Young Peasy. 1 in a red for a 2/1 creature, human shaman. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. I don't think that there's a single iteration of this deck where I'm not running Anointed Procession to double the tokens I get. So he just goes in super easy. Same with Monastery Mentor, which is 2 in white for a 2/2 creature human monk with prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end turn. So he's going to get big on his own. But he also has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 white monk creature token with prowess onto the battlefield. So again, this prowess effect is basically what Kaikar has, and you're going to be triggering this over and over again with all of the spells in your deck.
Yeah, you're just buffing everybody, making more and more tokens.
And I don't think I can put blue and red in a deck, in a spells deck, without playing Gutter Snipe.
Oh, yeah.
2 in a red for 2/2 creature, Goblin Shaman. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. This, again, going to get out of hand.
This is a quick way to kill everyone once you get going.
And if you have to rely on combat, you can use something like Battle Hymn, which is 1 in a red. Add red to your mana pool for each creature you control, which allows you to do either pump effects, or it basically doubles the amount of mana that you're going to get from your spirits if you sack all of them. There's also one that is focused on attacking creatures, so you can just send your whole board, get the red mana off of it, sack them, get more red mana off of it, which allows you to go for a big finisher, something like Comet Storm, which is X red for an instant multi-kicker 1. So you pay an additional 1 for any number of times you want to cast a spell for each target, and choose target creature or player, then choose another target creature or player for each time Comet Storm was kicked. Comet Storm deals X damage to each of them. If you're just generating an assload of mana, you're just going to burn people out, which is a lot of fun. But if you happen to miss the mark, we've got Past in Flames, which is 3 in a red for sorcery. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end turn. Flashback cost is equal to its mana cost, and it itself has flashback for 4 in a red. So you can just really go off with a bunch of instant sorceries. If you don't get the value you want out of them, you've got Past in Flames to do it again, and then Past in Flames again to do it again. You really just see that this is just such a massive value deck, but it has to be based in red because the spirits that you're sacking are giving you red mana only, which is kind of weird, but if you had Phyrexian Altar or something like that, you could kind of change that into other colors for basically the same effect. But to me, I don't have like a base red deck. I think my Grixis decks are mostly black, which is fun, but I think that this is a different angle for me. I love Jeskai spells as an archetype. It was really fun in the cons block, so I'm really looking forward to doing it again. All right, so now it's time to talk about the 99. Having the commanders is great, but what are the cards for the 99 that are going to enhance decks that we already have, or maybe kind of push us into another one?
Yeah, these are just the cards you say, ooh, that's a good upgrade, or like that can replace this card in this slot, and one of your other decks that you already have.
I think as commander players, primarily a lot of times when we're drafting, but especially when we're at pre-release, this is what we're looking for. Sometimes there's cool commanders that we're like, yeah, I'll probably build them. But if you're going to build a whole deck, you plan on buying them anyway. But these are ones where you're like, ooh, hopefully I pull it because I could just put them right in.
Yeah,
there.
just like I know exactly what card I'm cutting for this. Just going right in.
So the first one I have on my list, I kind of cheated here. I gave everyone 3 slots, but I put 3 because they're all ley lines.
Yeah.
So the first one, I think, is the one that everyone should be most familiar with, and that's Leyline of Anticipation. It's 2 blue for an enchantment. If Leyline of Anticipation is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. All of the ley lines are going to have that, so I'm not going to read it 3 times. But this one's specific effect is you may cast spells as though they had flash. So this is the enchantment version of Vidalcan Ori.
My girl.
Which we talk about a fair bit just because it's so insane in Commander. And for me, as an enchantment player, like there's nothing I want more than Vidalcan Ori as an enchantment.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about the ley lines in this episode yet, but they're all really powerful. They're reprints that everyone is looking forward to. All the colors, I think, are pretty good. And they're, like Drew was saying, they just go in. If you're running that color, you probably want to run a lot of these cards, especially Leyline of Anticipation. That was just too good.
I think the second most powerful one, just in general, for Commander anyways, is Leyline of the Void. It's 2 black. Again, enchantment, has the leyline text. And if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So having this at the beginning of the game against graveyard decks is just...
Hosed.
Yeah, it's so powerful. This has been a modern sideboard staple for a very long time.
Yeah, I think before
so
this got
strong.
reprinted, it was up to like $50 because it was played that much. I think the most important part of that about this, the text on this card, is its opponents.
Right,
So you can still
right.
run it in your graveyard deck and just hose everybody else's graveyards.
Yeah, it's an incredibly strong card. Like I said, it's been a modern staple basically since it was printed, and I don't think that's going to change. And now it's going to be more accessible, which I think is really, really good. The Leyline of Anticipation, I think, was about $20, something like that.
Yeah.
And right now they're predicting that it's going to go down to about $5.
Yeah,
so
so
that's
snatch 'em
insane.
up.
Buy 20 of them.
Yeah, really, like I think that's a card that is going to rise in value. I think I predicted that it's probably going to go up to about $15 again.
Yeah, it's going to drop down once the set comes out, and then it's going to go right back up because it's played that much.
Yeah, and
All
Leyline
these-
of the Void, it's a $50 card. I think the predictions right now is like 15 to 20, but that's going to go up so fast.
Oh, yeah, it's going to go right back up because people are going to finally be able to get a bunch of copies of it.
I would be surprised if it's at the same price by the time this video comes out. So the last one I want to talk about for the ley lines is Leyline of Abundance. It's kind of one of the weaker ones, except in a very specific deck. So
Yeah.
2 green for an enchantment. Whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. And then 6 green, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So basically, I'm only looking at this to put it in my elf deck because, like I said when I built that deck, as many of these mana dorks as I possibly can fit in a deck, I'm putting them all in, and then I'm going to get value out of them. This card just doubles that value.
Yeah, and it also has the last text, which is 6 green, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So all of that doubled mana you got, you actually have a way to use it. So it's good early game, ramping you super hard, and then late game, just finishing, just pumping everything.
Yeah, 4 mana dorks, good to go.
Yeah, I think this one's really good. It's just a lot more linear.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, Drew.
Yeah, and the white one gives you hexproof, and the red one,
I think the red one lightning bolts things.
2 damage.
Yeah,
Shucks.
I think it's whenever you or permanent,
You control becomes a target of spell or ability.
Yeah,
which
that's what,
I think is also super linear. It's definitely not good in EDH, but I
was gonna
think
say it's
against
better
certain
in-
decks, probably like what's the storm deal 1 damage?
Grape shot.
Grape shot, like a grape shot deck. It just stops grape shot deck, but I don't think that's a very prominent storm deck in our play group, at least. But I think it's just a lot more narrow focused than these other ones.
Yeah, I don't want to make the assumption that it's not going to see play because people will play anything for any reason. But
Especially if you can cheat it out in turn 0. Like, boom.
one of the
Yeah.
cards that people are going to play, I think, is Villas, Broker of Blood. This is one of the cards that I'm honestly looking most excited. Like I'm most excited to play.
Ooh, yeah.
You read him and you go, he's good. You read him again. Holy shit, he's really good.
So for 5 black, you get
8
an
mana.
8 legendary creature demon. Fine.
I think the
flying.
folks are going to be excited that he's actually 8 mana for an 8/8 now.
Yeah. So he's insane because he has pay black and 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Wait, that's not why. He's insane because whenever you lose life, draw that many cards.
Mm-hmm.
So in Commander, I mean, you could deck yourself.
Easily.
He's very good. So when you have his activated ability, you pay the 2 life, target creature gets -1/-1, you draw 2 cards. When your opponent hits you for 4, you draw 4 cards.
When Phyrexiarena triggers every turn, you draw an additional card.
Yeah, people have been calling him Baby Gristlebrand, and obviously he's nowhere near the power level of that because you have to pay mana. But the fact that it's whenever you lose life, draw that many cards, that's just so strong.
Yeah, it's an insane draw engine, especially in black,
Yeah.
where black is very good at creating black sources.
Yeah, and a lot of black card draws, you lose life and draw that many cards. So you essentially lose that life and draw twice that many cards with this guy out.
All right, so the last one I have, I've just been calling Fix Cyclonic Rift. It's Flood of
Ooh,
Tears,
yeah.
4 blue for sorcery. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. If you return 4 or more non-token permanents you control this way, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. The permanent you put on the battlefield does not have to be one of the ones that was returned to your hand.
Right.
Yep, cheat out your Ulamog.
So obviously this card's just going to be insane. Blue board wipe, kind of joke that, it's not going to be anywhere near as good as Cyclonic Rift, mainly because it's a sorcery.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
But the effect is the same as what Cyclonic Rift is, and then you also get this bonus.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. If I pull one of these, I know exactly which deck I'm putting it in. I know exactly what I'm doing with it. It's basically another Cyclonic Rift that you get to cheat something in, like you were saying, Drew. Like, that's so powerful.
Methinks it's Joyra.
It is. I'm taking Devastation Tide out, putting this in, bounce everything back, play Joy again, cast all my 0-drops, get the engine going.
Yep.
Okay, so my first card is called Brought Back, which is a white for an instant. Choose up to 2 target permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Return them to the battlefield tapped. So the internet's all up in a tizzy about this card because of fetch lands.
Yeah.
And people are getting really mad about being able to get 4 mana on turn 2 with this card.
People are upset about that?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Really? I
because
feel like that's
you're
like
getting-
the one way you give white its ramp.
That's the problem, is that it is land ramp in white.
So?
White doesn't get
Yeah,
land ramp.
whites, they balance it to not have land ramp.
Yeah,
And
but
if
I
you
feel
give
like
it,
this
then
is
it's
a
just-
fair way for white to have it. You still have to have those crazy good fetch lands.
Yeah. That's just what people... I'm obviously
Yeah,
not going to
no,
use
yeah, I get
it
you.
for that. I'm using it for Gaddock Teague. Because blowing everything up and then cheating back Elvish Norn and Vorinclex is just going to be so good.
Bastard.
Can't say no to Norn.
Yeah. I think this card is going to see a lot of play just because it's permanence straight to the battlefield.
Yeah, this one I'm actually looking forward to as well in enchantment decks, just because
Yeah.
as soon as an enchantment board wipe comes out, you honestly don't have that many answers to it. And so just to get the best 2 back is really, really strong.
Yeah. And the best part is that it's an instant. So you can just keep 2 mana up. And if anybody does board wipe, then you get your best things back before your turn.
Yeah.
All right, the next one on your list, another strong card, but as you put politics.
So this card is Scheming Symmetry. It's a black for sorcery. Choose 2 target players. Each of them searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it.
So the obvious bad thing here is that when you play this, if you don't have an immediate draw effect, the person who you gave the card to is going to be able to draw that card before you do.
Yeah. But like Drew was saying, it's all about politics. It's just, hey, you need an answer? I need something good. Let's work together to just fight the table. Or it's like, who has the worst deck? You can get a card.
Yeah, and
Go
obviously
find your
there's-
best shitty card. Go,
Yeah.
buddy.
There's the politics of there's a threat that we can't answer, or
Yeah.
like I can't answer immediately, and you can be like, hey, do you have an answer in your deck, or do you, or whatever? We need to answer whatever, like Elvish Norn, for example.
Exactly, yeah.
And maybe you're in a green deck that doesn't really have a lot of creature removal, so it's like I can get rid of the enchantment that's helping him out here, but you're gonna have to get rid of Elvish Norn.
Yeah.
So you use politics in that way, so that way your tutor is the most important one, and that theirs is just to get
Theirs
rid of
helps
the threat.
tables while your helps yourself.
Yeah.
And we were thinking about it. In 2-headed giant, this card
Yeah.
is stupid.
Yeah, if you
because it's
do
just 2
sealed
good
for
players.
this and do 2-headed giant for it, this would be so fun.
Who
It's
else
like, hey,
would I
let's
select
get our
right
best
now?
stuff. Let's win right now.
Yeah.
Okay, the last card I have is Mystic Forge, which is a 4-drop artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an artifact card or a colorless non-land card. Then you can tap it, pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library. So this is another card that's going straight into Joyra. And it's just being able to look at your top card, throw it away if you want, or just cast it if it's a 0-drop. It's just such a powerful effect just to stop stalls. Because the one problem with that deck, or the biggest problem with that deck, is when you get going and you draw a land or just get into a pocket of land, you're just stuck. Because you need to cast artifacts and get the cycle going again and just draw and draw and draw and cast spells and more spells and just storm off. So this just prevents all of that, hopefully. And then I have 2 honorable mentions. There's Icon of Ancestry, which is just tribal support. Throw that in goblins. It's a 3-drop artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control, the chosen type, get +1/+1. Okay. And then tap or pay 3 and tap it. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card of the chosen type from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Especially in Modern Red.
I was going to say, this is really good for goblins.
Yeah. Since you don't have a lot of card draw, just pitching some lands and getting just another goblin might help you win the game. And then another shout out I have is Glinthorn Buccaneer, which is 1 red for a 2/4 Minotaur Pirate with haste. Whenever you discard a card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then you pay 1 in a red, discard a card, draw a card. Activate this ability only if Glinthorn Buccaneer is attacking. So I actually thought of Garion's brother, Sean, and his Yidris deck, which is a wheel deck. We've mentioned it a few times. But I think this might actually make a spot in that deck just because you are wheeling so much, discarding your hand, doing extra damage.
Yeah, most of the time it's whenever your opponents are discarding or drawing, so this helps use your discards to keep fueling that engine.
If you just wheel twice in a turn, that's probably 10 up to 14 damage extra on top of that.
To each opponent.
Yeah, so I think that might be just a
as
good
if you need
card to look
another
at.
card.
I know,
in that
right?
deck to win.
Okay, Garion, what do you got?
So the first one that I put on there, I was actually thinking of Markov upgrades before I went and looked at the list, so he just stuck out to me. It's Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. He's like one of the cheaper Sorins that you can get as a Planeswalker.
Mana cost wise.
Mana cost, yeah. Yeah, it's probably not going to be cheap. But he's a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. His +1 is target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. If it's a vampire, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So just kind of going with your vampire synergies. His second ability is also a +1. You may sacrifice a vampire. When you do, Sorin Impervious Bloodlord deals 3 damage to any target and you gain a life. So the vampire deck has a lot of stuff like Dictate of Erebos and Grave Pact. You want death triggers anyway, so this can throw some damage around. And you're making tons of just dinky little tokens anyway, so I feel like that is also really good. But the big one here is -3. You may put a vampire creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So one of the hardest parts about the vampire deck that I've found so far is that there are some really good vampires that are fucking expensive mana cost, and that really slows down what this deck wants to do because it's a fast deck. And so this is just a really cool way to try and cheat some of the, you get guys like Butcher of Malakir out for nothing instead of the 7 mana or whatever.
Turn 3, yeah.
I think the best part about that ultimate is that it doesn't kill him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A -3 comes in
because he
4.
starts at 4.
Yeah. So I think he's a good include for that deck.
All right, what else you got?
The next card I have is Shared Summons. This one's a combo-y card. This one's kind of more of a degenerate card. It's a 3 green for an instant. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards with different names, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. So I think of like the really degenerate decks, like the Birthing Pod decks, the Gitrog decks, the Hermit Druid decks that just have like those 2 and 3 card combos that are mostly creature based. Like you're going to go find your best. This is just another copy of some of your best like combo pieces.
Yeah, I don't know if Birthing Pod necessarily wants this because it is 5 mana, but...
Well, yeah, that's true. It is expensive, but it's one of those ones that like if for some god-awful reason you're not there yet, now you're there.
It's just like a baby tooth and nail.
Yeah. And then the last one for like
creature still.
You do have to cast
you get
him.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
The last one I have for my 99, just because he's cool, is the Lotus Field. I think it goes in every graveyard deck that's going to have the ability to return lands from your graveyard. It's just good value.
I think that saying any graveyard deck is kind of rough, but like it has to be a land focused deck.
Yeah, I mean landfall decks that are pulling from the graveyard too. But I mean, most graveyard decks I think nowadays have some of that there because a lot of graveyard decks have self-mill. And so they're expecting to find some lands in the graveyard. But I also think it's really good in the tappy-untappy decks where you've got cards like Blossom Dryad. He's 2 and a green for a 2/2. Tap him and untap target land. You've got stuff like Candelabra of Taunos.
Good luck getting one of those.
I know, right? But like all these cards, and then there's Magus of the Candelabra. He's a 1 mana, pay X, tap, and untap X lands. So you just have the ability to like tap and untap and tap and create a load of colored mana with only 1 land.
Personally, I would have just gone with Kior's Follower, and Fate Stitcher.
Yeah, there's a lot of different.
There's a whole bunch of ways to do it. Yeah. I just think that it's a pretty versatile land and it has hexproof, so it can't be strip mined. I think it's good. I think it has places in a lot of decks.
Yeah,
EDH.
I think the stipulation is in certain decks. Like,
Yeah,
you can't put this on every deck.
No.
But in the decks that can use it,
Yeah.
it bangs.
Pretty
Yeah, we kind of had a discussion in our group chat, and I'm not the biggest fan of this card aside in like a specific lands deck, just because the resource investment into it is just massive. And Garion was like, "Oh, but it color fixes you." It's like, well, it actually opposite color fixes you. It color hoses you because it only taps for one land or one color. And so, like the example I gave is if you sacrifice a mountain and a forest, which tap for red and green, now all of a sudden you can only tap for red or green. Yeah. And so, while it does pump the amount, like it's a very resource dense card, the investment in it is going to be way too high, I think, for a lot of decks. So we're going to try and get to the wrap-up section here. But before we do, let's get to the best cards in the set. If we've named them before, we're not going to go into them again. But Corey, give us your top 3.
So my top 3, Flood of Tears is just that mini Psych Rift. The card that we haven't talked about yet, which I think is actually a lot better than it should be. It's Veil of Summer. It's a green for an instant. Draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. So there's a lot going on in this card. But I think the most important part about this card is spells you control can't be countered this turn.
Yeah, I think this is a very good responsive strategy, like sideboard card.
Yeah, you play your bomb, gets countered, you respond with this, stack, makes this resolve first, you draw a card, because you probably get countered by a blue spell, and then until end of turn, you have hexproof from blue and from black. But I think all of that's good, but the part you want to focus on is for 1 green, spells you control can't be countered this turn. That's everything that you have this turn. And I think that's just a really powerful card for 1 mana.
Yeah, I think that this could just be a bait spell as well. Like, hey, I'm going to do something powerful this turn. I'm going to cast this, make them counter it.
Yeah.
And then
you make them you use their removal. You probably draw a card off it. You're going to always get value of it. You're going to protect something at the bare minimum. And then my last card is the Chandra. She's just too good.
Really goddamn good. The first one I have on my best cards list is Yorick. Again, he's just the value, the colors, everything about him just makes me feel good inside. And then we've got Golos Tireless Pilgrim. He's 5 colorless for a 3/5 legendary artifact creature scout. It says, when Golos Tireless Pilgrim enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So first and foremost, notably, that's not a basic. You can go get any good-ass land.
Get Cabal's Coffer,
Cabal's
Guy's
Coffer,
Cradle.
Yeah. Everything. Not everything, but anything.
Go get the primetime combo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get yourself a 2020 Indestructible Merit Lodge.
Yep. You can do whatever the fuck.
The big part on here, though, I think that makes him so good, especially in EDH, for 2 and Wooburg, so 7 mana, but all 5 colors. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn without paying your mana cost. So this allows you to play 5 colors as a commander. Awesome. It also allows you to cheat out mana cost on up to 3 cards.
All of the fatties.
Yeah.
And it says play instead of cast, so if you happen to hit lands, you're also getting your lands out. I think he's just got a whole shitload of value.
Yeah, I think that he's probably just like the raw power level strongest commander in the set, just because 5 colors allows you to do anything, and cheating of mana cost is the most powerful
it's
thing
legit just 5 color good stuff. Like you play whatever you want and you'll just cast it for free most of the time.
Doesn't force you into
Insurrection and Tooth and Nail all in the same turn.
It's kind of like Joda, but instead of playing 5 for each spell, you just play 7 and
get 3
for 3 spells.
Yeah.
Now it might be garbage, but
you also can get your lands out, which I think is important.
if you
because
can
a lot of times those cheating spells, you're like, here we go. You draw a land and you're like, shit.
Yeah, and if you can get a lot of mana, you can just keep doing this and potentially play your whole deck if you have infinite mana.
Yeah, infinite mana. I mean, obviously, but you have access to blue, so you probably have some combo.
Well, and that's another thing that's cool about him is he doesn't pigeonhole you into a specific archetype. You can, like you said, build it however you want to.
Yeah, and another good thing is that he's a 5-drop, and he comes out, gets you a land, so you have 6 land, and then you play land for turn on your next turn. You're at 7, you do his ability.
Yeah. My last one is Flood of Tears again. We obviously did these lists separate of each other, but that's just a really goddamn good card.
Yeah, when I saw it was on Corey's top, I didn't put it, but I mean, it's my top card for
Certainly could have made
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, we tried not to overlap, but there's
happens.
certain cards that are just so good.
All right, so my list, I have what I just put as maybe, but it's Chandra.
Yeah,
Like,
she's too good.
She really is. Like, I'm excited to play her in basically any and every format that I can. That she's 6 mana, so she's a bit slow, but when she gets down, she's going to do work. My next ones are Leyline of Anticipation, Leyline of the Void. We talked about those earlier. Giving yourself flash on everything.
Drew
just
is
hating
so
out.
hard for the ley lines.
They're so good.
They are.
I mean,
good.
I'm an enchantment player.
Yeah,
It's what I do. And Leyline of Void,
free enchantments.
potentially. Just graveyard hate on enchantment. Love it. I've got Lil Grissy on here.
We talked
Villas.
about him.
Yeah.
He good.
He's really good.
And the last one I have on here, I don't necessarily know if it's one of the best cards of the set, but I think it has a lot of flexibility and enables decks that maybe aren't as good, and that's Bag of Holding. So for 1 mana, it's an artifact. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. For 2, tap, draw a card, then discard a card. So those play into each other really nicely. And then for 4 and tap, sacrifice Bag of Holding, return all cards exiled with Bag of Holding to their owner's hand. The potential on this card is astronomical. The fact that you get to loot rather than rummage is really important, right? So give this in every red deck, basically, in EDH, and they're going to be happy about it. Wheel decks are going to be happy about it because they're going to have this card, not you, so they get to keep the cards that they wheel if they want.
Yeah, just imagine wheeling and getting multiple wheels in that hand and wheeling a couple of them away, but then you just pay for it, get them all back, and keep wheeling, and you always have a wheel in your hand.
Alternatively, you can actually kind of use this card as a bad max hand size card.
Oh, yeah.
If you just overdraw and have to discard to hand size, then you're able to get these cards back that normally you wouldn't have access to. I think it just has a lot of random potential all over the place. So I thought it'd be worth mentioning.
Yeah, I think the strong thing to point out is that it's whenever you discard a card, exile that card from it. So it's not cards that exiled with or discarded with Bag of Holding.
Right.
But
Anytime.
it's just all cards that you've discarded after you play Bag of Holding. But then the caveat is you sack it and they return all cards that are exiled with this.
Yeah, and so it's a nice little card on there. Got the looting effect, which I think just put that in mono red decks, red white decks, mono white decks. There's a lot that it can just help out, and then there's just a lot of decks that can abuse the shit out of it.
Yeah, I think it's just a really good 1-drop.
Yeah.
Helps out a lot.
Plus, if you are like me and grew up with D&D in your background.
Oh, yeah.
Flavor.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's so much.
Yeah.
Like, how will they not have a Bag of Holding card? Yeah.
Yeah, that was what drew me to it at first.
I think it's interesting that they have a dragon in their Bag of Holding in the
put anything
artwork.
in there.
I mean, in D&D you can't. If you put sharp objects, they can tear.
Maybe it's
I would
a very
consider that
soft
dragon his gigantic fucking teeth to be a sharp object.
It's not biting the back.
But
This
either
is
way,
D&D.
it's fucking tight.
Yeah. I mean, why not throw your extra IPs into each other? All right, so that's our primer for Core 2020.
Obviously, there's a lot more cards. There's a lot of good stuff all throughout the set, but we just sort of touched on cards that we think stand out or cards that we want to build around, just cards that have a lot of flavor.
Hopefully you guys are as excited as we are for pre-release upcoming. We're expecting this video to drop Thursday, day before pre-release. Hopefully your shop locally is going to do a midnight. That's my favorite.
Yeah, do remember though, pre-releases can be on Friday this time. We didn't
they're-
go over
they're
the
changing some
huge
rules.
News break or whatever they had. There's a lot coming, but most of it irrelevant for players. It's really just kind of how shops interact with WotC. And some of them, get the benefit of getting more product, which is going to be really nice. It allows them to change the formats up a little bit based on what's around them, what the players are doing.
Yeah, they can cater to their player base a little bit more.
So that's really nice.
There's those cool promo packs and stuff.
Yeah. But for us, pre-release is kind of like our big thing that we do around shops. So we're really excited for that.
So hopefully you guys get out there and pre-release your heart out, win some packs. But thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully we gave you enough information to go forth confidently into your pre-release.
Yeah, let us know what you guys are excited for, what your polls are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what you guys want to build, what you end up building.
We're totally okay with our Twitter feed being flooded with cool pack pulls.
Just all pre-release, just midnight, the entire thing blows up. So we've been drinking on this episode, as we usually do. We just want to remind you guys to be responsible. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink if you're underage. If you're drinking along with us, great. Let us know what you're drinking.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode, and as always,
Have fun.
But not too much.